Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Barak the Yahawah, barak the yahawashi, bahasham, quadash, barak atham. So, out here another week prophesying the downfall of America, better known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures. And pretty much, the elite plans, Esau, Edom, which is the 1% and what they plan to do to microchip everybody, to get everybody on that mark, And you can see that being rolled out with ID 2020 and the fact that they are now using that in places. And then you got the gun confiscation going on in Queens. You can best believe that that's part of ID 2020 as well, to destroy the resistance, of course. And you and I both know that when the car fire happened here in Reading, that when the National Guard was called and all that, they were going into houses and breaking into them and looting guns. Got to remember, you registered your guns, so therefore they knew where to go in and break them. And then they're going to blame them on looters. Looters are going to get the blame for breaking into houses, right? Because you heard all about the looting that was going on during the car fire. But you and I both know, though, that the only looters were the government that actually came in. Of course, that was a gun grab, too, under the false pretenses, which you and I both know that they orchestrated the entire car fire, just like they orchestrated all the other fires, And they wanted you to believe that it was a tire that had sparked everything. But I think that people have woken up to that. But they don't care whether people are awake or not. They're still going to go through with their plans anyways. Because, again, the militarized police, who are they? Well, so-called Veterans Day today, right? So you got all the veterans that come back from these wars, and they don't have a place of employment. So, of course, the law enforcement's going to employ them. And because, they kill at will and they have no mercy, because they didn't show mercy during the wars. What do you think they're going to do to us? Think about that, though. This is Jacob's trouble, but it's also trouble for the 99%. And the 99% is a much larger group, because that's how Esau has classified everything, especially Amalek, has classified everyone into the 99%, which includes their own. That's why you're seeing Esau with all the plagues thereof now. They're catching all the snares, of this government plan, which is to microchip everyone, because he causes all both small and great. What part of these scriptures do we not understand? But a lot of people like to play around with this, and they think that, it's an embargo or it's Christianity. Nah. In fact, yes, I know that Christianity is a good large amount of people. I'm not saying that it isn't, because that has been part of the false prophet system, the Catholic Church. But not everybody professes to be a Christian, A lot of people say, well, I'm not a practicing Christian, but, and then they'll try to act like they know the Bible, but I'm not a practicing Christian. So not everybody practices Christianity, in other words, but they always claim to know something, especially when we come out here and we tell the truth, about things that are within it. Then all of a sudden they want to act like they're Bible scholars or they're experts, such as Christianity, but really, truly, though, they don't speak on end-time prophecies. They don't even try to break it down. Unless you're somebody like Paul Bagley or Rick Wiles, then maybe you might actually go into some end-times prophecy. But how many actually do that? Very few. But you see, we cover all the things and we answer all the questions. To those that have an ear, let them hear. If any man have an ear, let him hear. So we've been speaking for quite a while now. And we know we're almost at the end of it. And that's why the devil's come down, having great wrath. And that's why you're starting to see more, things happening, on a larger scale. The spiritual warfare happening to us that are in this faith, things to test our faith. Of course, gold is tried in the fire. But the fire itself doesn't make the gold. The gold was always there. But it's there to rather strengthen it, to prove its worth, And that's what we are, We're going to be proven to be worth something, That's why, like me being, about to be homeless here not too long from now. But I know how to survive that. Been there before. Done that before, So, of course, I'm going to be strengthened by that. And my faith is in Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi to guide me through this, Because, again, before I even, got this platform, I was already living in an RV, Not a luxurious RV like you would think, no. This one was definitely, you couldn't even drive it or anything, but I was living in the backyard in an RV and cooking out of a bathroom because that's all the room that I had. It had no electricity, so you had to run on an extension cord. But I knew how to survive, and I was still doing videos, at least 2 or 3 a week, 10 minutes or more. So I could do it back then during those conditions, so how much more would I do this now? Doing that, and that's why the push, What's everyone else's excuse for not doing this, you see? That's just it. The gold was always there. It's just going to be tried by fire, And there's going to be a lot more fires. Like I said, I had a vision about the whirlwind, being caught in the whirlwind to where it almost seemed like I was the one getting judged. Well, you can certainly say that about this other thing with the authority property management giving us the 60 days, that was getting caught in the whirlwind. But nonetheless, though, we would barely escape. That was the second part of the dream, the vision that I had seen, that we would just barely make it. We would barely survive it, because, of course, martial law is coming right around the corner. Like I said, they're confiscating guns in Queens, It's definitely gotten the attention of the Apostle of Ramla, because he did a couple of videos on it, and Esau cut him off, during his speaking. He did a couple live feeds, but they cut him off. Of course, because Esau's coming down, on the, he's looking to snatch up what they like to call freedom of speech. But yeah, you're free to speak as long as it ain't against them, which is, really, well, you could say hypocritical. It's a lot of things. But nonetheless, though, you're free to speak, just not against them, Like if you're to speak against the Most High, oh yeah, they definitely, they'll give you a platform for it. You can do all the things against the Most High, right? LGBTQ and all those things that are promoted in almost every show. That's why this is the place of Sodom and Egypt spiritually. But we've been lifting up that banner against Esau, Edom. And all these countries are now coming against Esau, Edom, coming against Babylon the Great. They were once considered third world countries, weak. But Iran just recently said that they are stronger now. And they had found almost $23 billion worth of oil in their country, even after the sanctions of Donald Trump and Benjamin Not a Jew. So they are very resourceful. And they said they're an oil-rich country, So Persia is able to stand up to them. And Magog is a guard unto them, as you already know. Magog's being a guard now unto Syria. And, of course, like everything else, Babylon the Great's going to lose. They're trying to grab the last little bit from Syria. But eventually there will be clashes. And, of course, we know that eventually leads to Damascus being destroyed. And at the same hour, Russia will retaliate and destroy America. Because, of course, all the mighty men, all the strong archers are going to be in array against Babylon, against America. And you can see that all in its form now, as we're in the beginning of sorrows. So, read out of Isaiah chapter 13, who prophesied this a long time ago. Lift up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, and that they may go into the gates of the nobles, And that is, all these world leaders are coming together to come against Babylon. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Again, talking about all those that are nuclear armed, are going to come in array. The noise of a multitude in the mountains like a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms and nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts muster them, the host of the battle. So, again, Magog and all its allies, including Gomer, are going to come against this place. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. That's talking about what can do this. ICBM nuclear missiles, 200 million of them in particularly, will be shot off in this day. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. So we know it's the Most High that is gathering all these nations up to fire their nuclear weapons. And at the same time, while that's going on, the chariots will be coming to save his mighty ones, save the house of David. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. Like they show you in the Terminator 2 demonstration, of people being melted by way of the nuclear missiles. And they shall be afraid, pangs of sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed at one another. Their faces shall be as flames. Again, they show you a good illustration of that in the Terminator 2 Judgment Day movie. They have a newer Terminator out. I haven't seen that yet, but it's kind of interesting, though, because it was Sarah Connor's dream vision that shows you that. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners there out of it. It's talking about you 2/3, because you would have to know the laws and deliberately have, you would have had to have been given the laws and then deliberately break them, which 2/3 of our people do that willingly anyways. They don't want to accept this. For the stars and constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun and moon shall be darkened in its going forth, by way of them nuclear missiles. And the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. For I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. Talking about the red Hebrew Edomites, the few, the proud, the Marines, all the logos, that's talking about America. And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, which is talking about the red Hebrew Edomites. Because like everything else, though, they took great pleasure in bringing us down, bringing down the 12 tribes of Yasharahla. And they've taken great pride in bringing down all the other countries that they've subdued, like Libya. You had Hillary Clinton saying, we came, we saw, we killed them, and it was a brutal death. And why did they kill Muammar Gaddafi? Because, of course, he found a new gold standard and was able to trade in actual gold. And he also found a way to actually get pure water in Libya. They even show you some of that in that comedy movie In the Army Now with Pauly Shore. It was all about the clean water. So they knew that Muammar Gaddafi was working on that, and he had finally found a way. Well, that's when NATO, the U.S. whore, went to war with Libya, and then armed ISIS, well, at that time it was called Al-Qaeda, to go in there. And then after they had taken out Muammar Gaddafi, what did they do? They sent in the same terrorists to go into Syria and started causing problems there, and there's still problems to this day in Syria. Of course, because these terrorist groups, have now focused in on Syria, but they can never get Syria. They're not going to get Damascus until the very end of this. Bashar al-Assad is going to stay strong, and it's going to keep fighting against all these terror groups. And Russia's going to help in the fighting, as well as Persia, because that Hezbollah has been helping out Syria a lot and fighting these terror groups, set up by Zionists, aka Amalek, So they've been very strong in fighting against the terrorists. That's why I said before that Persia's been like a guard unto them as well, because Hezbollah has been fighting a lot longer before Russia even got there. Magog, they were there before. Hezbollah had been fighting quite a lot, been fighting against the terrorists in Golan Heights and the terrorists coming up through Jordan as well, and the terrorists coming in through Lebanon, supported by the Israeli states, especially the ones in Golan Heights. Yeah, Hezbollah's been on top of that, along with the Syrian Arab Army, And of course, Benjamin, not a Jew, is going to say that, they're just going after Iran targets, that they're just bombing Hezbollah. But really, truly, though, they've been attacking the Syrian government all along, because it is Amalek that wants the war with Syria. Of course, because they have a thing called the Greater Israel Project, where they control all the oil, and it runs up through Syria and through Gomer. Although Gomer lately has been making deals with Russia. Of course, because the United Snakes had went ahead and betrayed them, especially when they didn't back them over the shooting of the fighter. But it's said, it was prophesied, the Most High spoke it by way of Ezekiel, telling us that Gomer would be protected also by Magog. So you can see all that fall into place, because we're starting to see the biblical prophecies fall into place, because of course we know that Gomer now is more with Magog than they are with being a UN ally. They're more, they still call them an ally, even though their deals have been more with the North Country, with Magog. So we're seeing all this come to pass. So, as well as I do, though, that because of the fact that all this is taking place, well, what do you think he's going to be doing over here? Because in order for these things to take place, well, everything else would have to be into play. You would have to, the mark of the beast would have to be made mandatory before World War III would break out. And we can see, though, that things are becoming more mandatory, like this ID 2020, you know. And a lot of people, you know, are going to sign up for the real ID. And then, you know, that's going to be replaced by the RFID. A lot of people are going to chipping parties and proud to be microchipped, you know. And, of course, you know that they have the RFMD, radio frequency medical devices. A lot of people with shot off limbs or whatever have already taken this medical device. What do you think it has in them? You think that you were going to get that for free? No, man. They're tracking you. They're tracking your every move. And everybody who's enlisted in the military now has a tracking chip in them. They show you that in movies. Of course they do. And the same thing with the law enforcement. They have tracking chips in them. They have tracking chips into their guns as well to tell you how many bullets they fired. Isaiah chapter 14, and it reads, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and yet choose yahawah, and set them in their own land." So, no, we haven't returned to our own land yet. You still got them bastards dwelling in Ashdod. So this has not happened yet, even though those so-called Christians will tell you that that already happened. "And the strangers shall be joined with them." Oh, this is where Esau thinks that he's that stranger to be joined with us. Nah, that's not what this is talking about. Well, if they are, they're talking about the fact that they'll be slaves. "And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob," you know. So pretty much, you know, we're going to take over this world the same way that Esau Edom took over the world. We're going to be enslaving the entire world, those that are left that survive this nuclear destruction about to come. "And the people shall take them and bring them into their place, and the house of Yahawah shall possess them in the land of the Lord for the servants and handmaids." Oh, it just tells you right there. Servants and handmaids. What do you think that is? "And they shall take them captives," whose captives they were. That's talking about, you know, well, we've been captive of almost every empire, especially Esau Edom, but all these other countries work with Esau Edom. "And they shall rule over their oppressors." So we're going to rule over them Rothschilds, man. We're going to be one in power, and they're going to be at the bottom. "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give them rest from thy sorrows." You know, so we're going to finally have rest. You know, we're not going to have to worry about, you know, well, when's this man going to come and give us a 60-day notice? When's this man going to, you know, are we going to have enough to eat? You know, we won't have to worry about those things. "And from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve." So we're not going to have to serve the paper currency anymore, you know, of course, because we'll have the real gold. And that's another thing that's symbolic of our people, though. We still, you know, even though a good portion of us don't know that we're Jakes yet, look at all the, you know, rappers and stuff. They wear the gold and the silver and all that because we were a royal people. So it's only natural that we would do that, even though we're in this, you know, depressed state. It's still natural for us to wear gold and silver. "That thou shalt take up," this proverb, "against the king of Babylon." You know, and that's talking about modern day America, against Donald Trump and the Rothschild, "and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased." You know, America once yielded its power, still yields some power, but not like it used to, man. People ain't afraid of this bitch America anymore. "The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers." You know, and how did he do that? Verse 6, "He smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke." You know, what's that talking about? By way of that thermonuclear destruction. All these places came against Babylon. "He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing." So it's going to be a really happy, joy day. That really will be, oh, happy day, you know. And it'll be when yahawashi returns. Because you see, Jesus, Corpus Christos, really doesn't exist, but yahawashi does. See, this is the return of yahawashi. And he's coming back with anger, with a rod of iron to destroy this place. "Yea, the fir trees rejoice, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no fellers come up against us." So, you know, pretty much, though, these oppressors will be brought down. "Hell from beneath is moved from thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth." You know, so pretty much, though, they'll try to hide in their submarines, their nuclear submarines and all that, but Most High is going to get them. "It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up the thrones, all the kings of the nations. All they speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Again, this is talking about how pretty much, though, what they used to call third world countries is just as strong as America now. A lot of them stronger. Persia is a lot stronger than America because the people are doing actually pretty good there. Thy pomp is brought down to thy grave, and the noise of thy violence, the worm is spread over thee, and the worms cover thee. And pretty much, man, that's talking about how, this whole place, man, I mean, look at everything, man. I mean, behind me is a boarded up hotel. It's been boarded up for quite some time. Almost about 12, 13 years, maybe even 15 years, How art thou fallen from heaven? Fallen from your rulership, your kingdom. How is this place fallen? O Lucifer, son of the morning. And no, it's not talking about Satan falling out of the heavens. No, this is talking about those that consider themselves the nobles, those that consider themselves the higher IQ, the illuminated ones, the light bearers. But yet you can see, though, that they don't have it. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? So how's this place been cut asunder? That did weaken the nations, That's what we're saying. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. In other words, they have raised themselves up to be like God, thus calling themselves the Christians and calling themselves the Jews, and saying that they're the people when we're the people. I will sit upon the mountains of the congregation in the sides of the north. And that's what they did when they set up Christianity here. And they said that they're the real Christians, that they're the real, Jews. And you know as well as I do that no, we were the Christians, because Christian just meant a follower of yahawashi HaMashiach is what it meant. And it was a derogatory term that the Romans gave us, the same Romans that are in power now, aka the Edomites. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And that's what they think that they are, you have that slogan, aim high Air Force, so they think that they're greater than he, and they show you that in all them video games, of them being able to destroy the chariots when they come. They know the chariots are here. Yet thou shalt be brought to hell, to the sides of the pit. Again, this whole place is going to become ruins. It's going to come up in remembrance no more. They shall see there narrowly, saying, look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the nations to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And that's just it, though, is Esau's beginning to become a myth, because they're seeing that they're just as strong now, and now, man, they're not even listening to America and its threats. Magog's coming in there and being a guard unto everyone and saying, look, you don't want pressure from the rest, we can protect you and we can actually do real business. So a lot of places, Magog's being a guard unto. Made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof. That's talking about red Hebrew Edomites, talking about this place, America in particularly. They opened not the house of the prisoners. Yeah, man, pretty much, though, what that's dealing with is the fact that, no, they never abolished slavery. They just changed ownership, because that's what Emancipation Proclamation is that you just changed ownership, so they never opened the house of the prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house, and this is dealing with Esau. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch. Esau's that abominable branch, pretty much. And as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit as a carcass trodden underfoot. It also tells you in the other scriptures that I have made the house of Jacob strong and Esau for stubble. Roughly paraphrasing. I wish I knew where to go to get that, but nonetheless, though, the house of Jacob shall be well fortified, while the house of Esau shall be for stubble. Take a good look there. All that is pretty much destroyed, man. This place has been like that for years now. Used to once be booming. Used to be a pretty good hotel called the Econo Lodge, but it hasn't been for years. The mirth of this place is ceasing, man. The only jobs you could really get is Uber or, even fast food places. We only have one Wendy's left. We used to have two Wendy's here. This place used to be booming. But it ain't, and it hasn't been for a long time. In fact, Redding said that they haven't seen that boom really since 2004. So they never reached the peak like they had in 2004. It just plummeted. Yeah, they've seen a little bit of comeback, but it never came back to like it was in 2004. It's just been on a downslide since then. Then you got the Sears and Kmart shutting last year, and Payless this year, as well as Shopko. You know, all the good places that you used to once be able to go to in Redding, that ain't here no more. You know, and other places closed down. I mean, it's been happening for a while, but even on a greater scale. The fact is, though, is that what's happening, though, is that, you know, since the burning of Keswick and all the other areas around there, you know, places like Authority Property Management has been buying up all the places cheap, and they're going to take in those people, you know, and give them you know, and they're going to charge 3 times the amount of rent, and they're going to get it. You know, that's why we got the 60-day notice. Of course, because Authority Property Management, like all the others, are just nothing but bastards, you know. And they're going to get it, you know. They're going to get the 3 times the amount. And there's nothing you can do about it because the judge has already ruled on that. You know, that's what happened to us, you know, everybody that was in that complex. And, of course, you know, everything's being jacked up, you know. That's what it's going to take, you know, for those that want Redding Electric Utility, because we know PG&E is fucked. You know, they'll just cut power anytime they feel like, even though there's no fire nearby, because they're not preventing wildfires. They're the ones that are starting it. Atomic energy weapons. They're the ones that are starting the fires. You know, fires of Babylon are burning. I mean, I know you just heard about, you know, Warner Brothers Studios almost being threatened by a fire, and that funeral home that be there, you know, where stars like David Carradine were, and Betty Davis, you know, all those places being threatened by fire because Rothschild had a plan to burn California. Well, what do you think that is? ID 2020, to get everybody on them microchips, you know. And pretty much, though, this place is, you know, ain't going to be around much longer, you know, and we're not going to be out here for much longer. You can see everything happening, you know. The famine of the word is around the corner because they keep taking down brothers' channels. They've been messing with the apostles' channels, you know, taking down their channels where they had to go on backup channels. They started with Tahar, Apostle Tahar, and then they started, then they took Apostle Gabar's channel away, and they took another apostle's channel away, you know, where we're on backup. And they even took one of the elders in Dallas, GMS Shar Moth. He had to go on another channel now, you know. Of course, because the devil doesn't like what we've been teaching, even though we've been teaching it for years. It's just now, though, that everybody's been responding to it, you know. Response rate is high because we've been out there for so long, and people are starting to see these prophecies happen. We just had to be patient for it, you know. We've been doing, you know, those like Apostle Tahar have been doing this since 1970, you know, 30 years or more, you know, and, you know, had to be patient. A lot of people thought it was going to happen in 2000 because a lot of things were happening in the year 2000, but okay, that didn't happen. It was a stumbling block for some. But did that stop Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramla, and those joined unto him? Did it stop them from believing? No, man, it strengthened them. It's like, look, here's the faith and the patience of the saints. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with a sword must be killed with a sword. So we knew that that was going to happen. And that's why they didn't falter. Well, look at now, 2019, 19 years later. You know, well, yeah, 19 years later, you know, since the Y2K thing, you know, and that didn't happen. You know, the year that everything would stop, you know, because of course, you know, other things had to be fulfilled. It's a slow process, but it's not as slow as it used to be. Now, man, we're seeing martial law rolled out. We're starting to see, you know, the mark of the beast becoming mandatory by ID 2020, you know, in Austin and all these other places. That's why FEMA runs these drills. Because, of course, you know, to get everybody on the microchip system. And we can see, though, that the poor, the oppressed, you know, they're going to be the first to be implemented with it, you know. Of course, because they have to make, that's Esau's branding mark, you know, to make sure that he has everybody identified, you know. And that's just it, though. You know, you can, you know, nowadays, you know, if you had to renew your license, you get a federal non-compliant card if you don't want the real ID. You know, when before it was just a regular driver's license. You just you carry around a paper until you get your ID card. Well, that doesn't work anymore. Now you get the federal non-compliant card, because you have to go through extra verification, and they put a chip in those cards, of course, to get you used to the idea of a chip. That's why they're in your credit cards. So all these things are coming down. This would be the year that Esau would push the mark, and we can see he's done so, very much so. So when Apostle Tahar coined this as the year of Karagma, he was not kidding. The Spirit jumped on him to tell us all that this is the year of Karagma, the year that Esau really pushes that. And we believe that in 2020, man, because the name of that program is called ID 2020, that it may be the year that it actually becomes mandatory. So I hope all this has been edifying, and like everything else, though, we're going to keep on proclaiming this. We're going to lift up that high banner against Esau, Edom, and we're going to shout with a loud voice, telling our people to repent and come out of Babylon, that you may not become the plagues thereof, which is by way of the thermonuclear missiles, and by the other plagues that are coming, to not get caught up in that. And the only way to do that is to repent and pretty much come back to your heritage and go out there and proclaim this truth. For that, I want to say, barak the yahawah, barak the yahawashi, bahasham quadash, wa abab abal. Barak atham, you hopeful elect. Shalom.